welcome to another RCA Fundamentals bite-sized video from the team at What Caused This. Today I'm going to introduce a topic that's one that's regularly discussed amongst RCA professionals, and it's the topic of how we deal with systemic complexity, how we model, how we account for the fact that different parts of a root cause analysis cause and effect chain may share root causes. We may see the same root cause manifesting itself across multiple areas of a chart. How do we make that connectivity? How do we make it clear that although we're dealing with different areas of an issue, the underlying root causes, the systemic root causes, if you like, are shared? And the answer is it's quite straightforward. So I thought I'd introduce an example to you today that would illustrate and demonstrate that as clearly as I hope it can do. The example that I'm sharing with you today is it's a financial services example. It's a consumer duty failing. The cause and effect revealed that an organisation had been essentially mis-selling a product to its customers, and it's quite a large RCA. I've shrunk some of it down to enable us to focus on a key area of the analysis. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make the chart a little bit bigger for you so that you can see some of the detail. It's not essential that we cover all the detail, but it'll be nice for me to introduce a couple of the key causal chains. So I'll just make that a little bit larger to begin with, and you can see that a bit more clearly. I think we can go a step or two larger, can't we? How about that? I think that's pretty good for now. So we can see we've got a focal point of a significant consumer duty failing on the left-hand side of the chart. And if you let your eyes travel along that chart, you can see that that was because of a substantial number of customer complaints. And at part, one of the reasons why this organisation had to field so many complaints was, of course, that they sold an awful lot of product. You can't find yourself in a situation where you're going to get those complaints unless there are high product sales. So the sales of the product were high, in this case 25,000, and we can see a number of reasons for that. The product was heavily incentivized, it remained on the market for a long period of time, and of course customers were unaware of the fees. When we look at that particular chart and we look at a number of the root causes, these are the causes that we might say are on the right hand side of the chart. Elements of the fact that the sales team ignored customer concerns, they buried complaints, the fees were wrapped up in jargon, or the advisors didn't explain the fees clearly, and that the advisors were awarded very heavily on the sales of that product. We can probably very quickly come to the conclusion that there is perhaps one underlying cause of many of those root causes, and that was just the raw profitability of that product. That product was so profitable that it drove behaviour in all sorts of areas of this particular cause and effect chart. So the question that is hanging in the balance now that needs to be answered is, how do we account for that on our cause and effect chart? And that's what I'm going to illustrate very easily right now. So if I take this particular cause here of the sales team ignoring customer concerns, the reason for that, the cause of that, or at least one of the root causes of that, is something that's already been accounted for on the chart, and that is that the product had very profitable margins. So I want to link this cause to one of our previously revealed causes, this one here. So let's just see how we can do that in the most straightforward way. And I'll do that by clicking on the box. I choose link to cause box, add the link, and I look for the appropriate cause box. And here we go. Product had very profitable margins. I'm just going to create that link, and off we go. And now we can see there is a link between these two cause boxes here, that the product had very profitable margins, and that's why the sales team ignored those customer concerns. And I can do that on as many cause boxes as I see fit. So maybe we'll add that also to why the fees were wrapped up in jargon. So we wrap the fees up in jargon because the product had very, very high margins. Let's just repeat that process just to make it clear again. There we go, search for that particular cause, and yet again we create that link. So these cause boxes now are all reverting back to the same set of root causes, the profitability of that margin. And that's our way of reflecting a systemic cause across much of a cause and effect analysis without having to create all sorts of confusing lines and connections across a chart. We can make it nice and clear and collect our data in a really intelligent way. So I hope that's illustrated to you quite clearly how simple that is. Now, obviously, it's very, very simple when we're using a piece of dedicated RCA software. But if we were still using post-it notes or something a little more analog, well, there's still a way to do that. We can connect it using various numbers or symbols to illustrate that interrelationship between particular root causes and other cause boxes on the chart. So it's still possible to do in the analog world, but of course, much, much easier both to create and to manage if we're using the appropriate software. So I hope you found that useful, and it's quite a simple solution, isn't it? But it is really, really powerful when it comes to clearly displaying those sometimes complex and tangled links between cause boxes and root causes. So good. I hope that was useful. Any questions as ever, please add them to the chat. We'll do our very best to answer those if we possibly can. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page. We'll see you at the next video. Thanks for now.